You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
You know, there is this very specific sinking feeling you get when you walk up to a grand ancient library.
Oh, yeah.
And you pull this heavy leather-bound book off the shelf, open it up with like great anticipation, and realize that every single page inside is completely blank.
It is the absolute worst.
Right. And that is the exact situation we found ourselves in today. You, our listener, sent us 3 sources covering what looked like the absolute bleeding edge of startups, tech, and programming.
They look super promising, too.
Yeah, so we got our coffee, we sat down to prepare for this deep dive, and we clicked the first link. Bam! Sorry, the page you're looking for doesn't exist.
It's the classic 404 error. The server essentially just shrugs its shoulders and says it has no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. So, we clicked the second link. Sorry, the page you're looking for doesn't exist.
At this point, you assume, okay, maybe there's a temporary server issue. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So we clicked the third link, and, sorry, the page you're looking for doesn't exist. A perfect trifecta of dead ends. A completely blank library.
Which presents a really unique challenge for us, because we usually spend these deep dives sifting through thousands of words of dense text, looking for the narrative thread to untangle for you. But here, the text simply vanished. The actual substance was just a digital ghost town.
Okay, let's unpack this, because my initial instinct was to just email you back and say, hey, your links are broken. We need to pick a different topic.
Sure, that would be the easy way out.
Right. But instead of giving up, we decided to pivot. The mission today isn't to read those missing articles. We literally can't.
Yeah, there's nothing there to read.
The mission is to perform a forensic deep dive into the metadata that was left behind. We have these tantalizing emoji-laden headlines, and we have the massive newsletter ecosystem they belong to.
We really have to analyze the digital breadcrumbs left at the scene. And what's crazy is these aren't just random broken links on someone's obscure personal blog.
No, not at all.
The one piece of concrete data we do have on these 404 pages is the call to action at the top. It says, get the most interesting stories in startups, tech, and programming delivered in a free daily email.
And the numbers are wild.
Yeah, it says, join 1,600,000 readers for one daily email. 1.6 million readers. We're looking at a massive, highly influential distribution channel here.
And the headlines they use to feed that ecosystem tell us exactly what the tech zeitgeist is obsessing over right now.
Totally.
So let's start with the technology that lured you into clicking these links in the first place. The first 2 missing articles aggressively push this concept of agents and AI transformation.
Right. They use some very specific phrasing.
Yeah, we have phrases like long-running agents, ship an agent, AI transformation, 0.5 layer, and AI services. And all of this is peppered with specific emojis.
Oh, the emojis are everywhere.
Right. There's the robot emoji, the handshake emoji, the person sitting at a laptop emoji. And I was looking at these titles, and I kept asking myself, are these emojis acting as modern hieroglyphics for the tech world?
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah, like thousands of years from now, will digital archaeologists look at the robot emoji next to ship an agent and decode the exact anxieties of software developers in this era?
Well, what's fascinating here is that I wouldn't go as far as calling them hieroglyphics. I mean, hieroglyphics told literal chronological stories.
Okay, fair.
These emojis are doing something much more manipulative. They are emotional shorthand designed to trigger a very specific psychological response before the reader even processes the words.
Manipulative how?
Well, let's look at that handshake emoji next to the phrase AI services. A handshake traditionally symbolizes human agreement, trust, a closed deal between 2 people.
Yeah, it's a very human interaction.
Exactly. By pairing it with AI services, the headline is implicitly suggesting a merging of human trust with automated systems. It's softening the concept. It's trying to normalize the idea that an AI isn't just a piece of software you use, it's a partner you do business with.
Which fundamentally changes how we view the software we're building. I mean, if you are building a tool, you just want it to work. If you are building a partner, it needs autonomy.
Right. It needs to act on its own.
Which brings me to the urgency in the specific phrase, ship an agent. In the tech world, when we say shipping, we mean releasing a product to the public.
Getting it out the door.
Exactly. The headline demands that you ship an agent. And I'm looking at that and thinking, a standard AI chatbot is reactive. You type a prompt, it types an answer, and it waits for your next command.
It's a glorified autocomplete.
Right. So if they are talking about a long-running agent, they must be talking about a shift from reactive AI to proactive AI.
That is the crucial distinction. To understand why this headline creates so much urgency, we have to look at the mechanism of an agent. As you said, a chatbot has no memory of what it did 5 minutes ago unless you remind it.
Yeah, it forgets everything instantly.
But a long-running agent, however, is designed to loop. You give it a high-level goal, like research our top 3 competitors, summarize their pricing models, and draft a memo to the sales team.
That's a huge task.
It is, and the agent breaks that goal down into steps. It searches the web, maybe it hits a paywall, it recognizes the error, it alters its strategy, tries another search, it compiles the data, and it writes the memo.
Wow.
And it runs in the background, making autonomous decisions over hours or even days.
So it actually has persistence.
Exactly. And building something with persistence, with stateful memory, requires entirely different software architecture than just pinging a language model for a quick answer.
So it's a completely different beast to build.
It really is. That is why this newsletter, which speaks to 1.6 million people, distills that highly complex computer science shift into the phrase, ship an agent, paired it with a laptop emoji.
It's designed to trigger instant FOMO, fear of missing out.
Precisely.
Yep.
If you are just building chatbots right now, this headline implies you are already obsolete.
And if everyone is rushing to ship these complex autonomous agents, they can't just build them on the old architecture. They have to rethink the plumbing, which explains this bizarre phrase we see next, the 0.5 layer.
Yeah, the 0.5 layer.
Right, because a layer usually refers to the tech stack. You have the hardware layer at the bottom, the operating system layer, the application layer at the top where the user interacts.
Standard stuff.
But if you tell me there is a 0.5 layer, my first guess is that this is the translation layer. Like, an agent needs a way to bridge raw, messy enterprise data with the actual AI model before it reaches the application layer. Is that what they're getting at, or is this just a fabricated buzzword?
It's actually a bit of both. In the hype cycle of startups, creating a new nomenclature is a way of planting your flag in the ground.
Of course, claiming the territory.
But mechanistically, there is a real need for what they're calling a 0.5 layer. Think about how an AI actually processes data. It doesn't read a PDF like a human does.
No, it has to digest it first.
Right. That PDF has to be broken down, mathematically converted into what are called vector embeddings, and stored in a specialized database so the AI can quickly retrieve the context it needs.
Ah, so the 0.5 layer would be the middleware. It's the invisible scaffolding that takes the raw data, processes it, and serves it up to the AI agent so the agent actually knows what it's talking about.
Right. It sits below the traditional application software, but above the raw infrastructure. And even without the body text of the article to confirm the exact technical definition they prefer, the headline alone succeeds in its primary goal.
Making you feel like you're missing out again.
Exactly. It makes the reader feel like there is a structural revolution happening, a new foundational layer of the internet being built, and they are falling behind if they don't understand it.
But building these utopian AI agents on a shiny new 0.5 layer is only half the battle. Because the moment you try to take this technology out of the lab and ship it into the real world, you hit a wall of brutal business reality.
And that's where the tone shifts.
Violently shifts. We move to the third missing article, and the phrases are, everything is compliance, token budget wars, software after AI, and defensibility fallacy.
The optimism is just completely gone.
Completely. And the emojis completely changed too. The handshakes and robots are gone. We get the scales of justice, a money bag, and a briefcase.
Yeah, suddenly very corporate.
Very. And I want to push back on this pairing for a second. Why pair an apocalyptic phrase like budget wars with the ultimate corporate wet blanket compliance in the same ecosystem? It sounds so incredibly bureaucratic compared to the explosive token wars.
Well, this raises an important question about what this newsletter is actually trying to do. It promises the most interesting stories in startups, tech, and programming. Therefore, it has to balance flashy AI trends with the harsh realities of running a startup.
Which brings us to the defensibility fallacy next to that briefcase emoji. In business, defensibility is your moat. It's what stops people from easily copying your product. Is this headline implying that AI has essentially dried up the moat?
That is the exact anxiety being targeted here. For the last 20 years, in software, the moat was the code itself.
Right, because it was hard to write.
Exactly. Building complex, stable software required massive engineering teams, millions of dollars, and years of development. If you built it first, your competitors had an incredibly high barrier to entry just to catch up.
But not anymore.
No. The defensibility fallacy suggests that in an era where AI can generate code, duplicate features, and spin up an entire application architecture over a weekend, Those traditional business moats have evaporated entirely.
So if your code base is no longer your competitive advantage, because anyone with an AI can just clone it, you're suddenly fighting for your life on a completely even playing field.
You are.
You have to find a new way to defend your business. Maybe it's your brand or your distribution or your proprietary data. But while you are scrambling to figure that out, you still have to power the AI you just built.
Which is not cheap.
No. Which brings us to the token budget wars, paired with the money bag emoji. I'm reading this and thinking about resources. It's not just paying an electric bill to keep the servers on.
It's much more direct than that.
It's like being an airline during a massive jet fuel shortage. It doesn't matter how great your planes are, or in this case, how great your AI agents are. If you don't have the fuel, you are grounded.
The jet fuel analogy is a really good starting point, but it's even more granular than that. Let's break down what a token actually is in this context.
It's not a cryptocurrency, right?
No, definitely not. In AI, a token is the fundamental unit of data the model processes. It's roughly equivalent to a syllable or a piece of a word. Every single time you ask an AI a question and every single time it generates an answer, it consumes tokens.
And you pay the AI provider like OpenAI or Anthropic for every single token.
Exactly. Now, remember what we discussed earlier about long-running agents? A simple chatbot might consume a few hundred tokens to answer a single question.
That sounds manageable.
But a long-running agent that is autonomously searching, looping, analyzing errors, and summarizing data in the background, it is thinking out loud. It is consuming tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of tokens to complete one task.
Oh, wow. So the cost scales exponentially.
It does. The token budget wars describe a literal battle for financial survival. Startups are trying to build these incredible autonomous systems, but the sheer cost of the compute power required to run them at scale is bankrupting them.
That is terrifying.
It is. The war is about optimizing your agent to use fewer tokens, or securing enough venture capital to outspend your competitors on API costs.
That makes the next phrase even more jarring. You have startups fighting this desperate high-stakes war for token budgets, and right next to it, the headline reads, "Everything is compliance," paired with the scales of justice emoji.
Yeah, the bureaucracy steps in.
It is the ultimate corporate wet blanket. It's like being in a Formula One race, burning through your expensive jet fuel, but having to pull over every single lap to fill out paperwork.
It perfectly captures the vice grip these founders are in. Because AI is so powerful, and because long-running agents act autonomously, governments, regulators, and enterprise clients are demanding strict guardrails.
They want to know it's safe.
Right. You can't just unleash an agent into a client's database without proving that it won't hallucinate, leak sensitive data, or violate privacy laws.
So you're fighting battles on two fronts.
Yes. A founder today has to fight fiercely in the token budget wars just to innovate, while simultaneously ensuring their core architecture, their 0.5 layer, adheres to a rapidly expanding web of legal compliance.
So the money bag and the scales of justice are the two weights crushing the briefcase. You are bleeding cash on compute, and you are bleeding time on compliance.
Is an absolute pressure cooker.
And it's fascinating that we can piece all of this together, the architectural shifts, the evaporating moats, the economics of tokens, without reading a single word of the actual articles.
It really is.
Which brings us to the most illuminating part of this entire deep dive, the 404 phenomenon itself.
The fact that none of these pages actually existed when you clicked on them.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. We have decoded the modern anxieties of the tech industry from the metadata, but we have to confront the stark reality of what you, the listener, actually received when you tried to access this knowledge.
A literal dead end.
A dead end. And it's juxtaposed right above this massive call to action. Join 1,600,000 readers for one daily email.
The scale is just staggering.
It's like showing up to a sold-out stadium of 1.6 million people. The lights are on, the crowd is buzzing, the posters outside promise the greatest show on earth, breaking down the 0.5 layer and the defensibility fallacy. But you get inside, and the band just forgot to play.
Yeah.
The stage is totally empty. I mean, does the relentless pace of a free daily email in a fast-moving AI landscape inevitably lead to these digital ghost towns where links break faster than they can be read?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to information velocity. Look closely at the promise. Get the most interesting stories delivered in a free daily email. Daily.
That is a brutal schedule.
When you're feeding 1.6 million readers every single day, specifically in a field as fast-moving as AI and startups, the pressure to produce and curate content is immense.
You have to feed the beast every 24 hours, no matter what.
Right. And because of that relentless pace, the 404 error isn't just a technical glitch. Sure, a broken link happens when a site migrates, or URL slug changes, or an article is quickly retracted for edits.
Right, things break.
But philosophically, the 404 error represents how ephemeral the most interesting stories in tech actually are. The landscape is shifting so rapidly that an article explaining the point 0.5 layer might become obsolete within days.
So today's token budget war is tomorrow's broken link.
Exactly. The publishing machine moves too fast.
But if a machine is moving that fast, what is the audience actually consuming? To write a truly deeply researched, thoughtful piece on the economics of token budgets and compliance takes weeks.
Yeah, you can't rush that kind of analysis.
But you don't have weeks. You have a daily deadline for 1.6 million inboxes. So you generate a flashy emoji-filled headline, you push it out, the backend system fails, the URL breaks, but the email has already been sent.
The stadium is already full.
Right, so what are they actually getting out of it?
This is where we have to look at the psychology of the modern tech reader. There's a cognitive bias known as the illusion of competence.
The illusion of competence.
Yeah, our brains reward us for recognizing patterns and absorbing high-level concepts. When those 1.6 million people open their daily email, they see the emojis. They absorb the buzzwords agent, token, compliance, defensibility fallacy.
And they feel like they learned something.
And their brain gives them a little hit of dopamine. They feel informed. They feel like they have their finger on the pulse of the industry.
Even if they never actually click the link.
Precisely. They don't need the dense 2,000-word article detailing the specific API costs of a long-running agent. The metadata has become the actual product.
That is wild to think about.
The feeling of being educated is delivered entirely by the packaging. The fact that the link leads to a 404 error is almost irrelevant to the daily function of the newsletter because the vast majority of the value was extracted from the headline itself.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive with 3 completely broken links, expecting to have absolutely nothing to talk about.
Nothing but blank pages.
But what we actually found is a high-resolution snapshot of the tech industry's current state of ambition and terror. We are looking at a world that is obsessed with building autonomous AI agents and rethinking the fundamental plumbing of the internet.
The 0.5 layer.
Right. It is a world that realizes its old business moats are dead and is absolutely terrified of running out of compute money and getting crushed by legal compliance.
It's an industry running on anxiety.
And crucially, it is a world that is moving so incredibly fast that the information itself literally vanishes into a 404 error before you can even read it.
I really have to commend you, the listener, for submitting this specific stack of sources.
Happy.
It is highly unusual to ask us to analyze what isn't there, but it proves a vital point about critical thinking in the digital age. The packaging, the emojis, the subscriber count, the error message itself often reveals just as much about the culture of an industry as the articles they promise to deliver.
It's so true.
They tell a story of an ecosystem sprinting at breakneck speed, trying to build the future while the ground literally crumbles beneath its feet.
It really was a brilliant submission, even if it was entirely by accident. You handed us a blank book, and we ended up learning volumes just by analyzing the binding, the leather, and the dust on the cover.
Yeah, it was a great exercise.
But as we leave you today, I want you to mull over this final lingering thought. If an email goes out to 1.6 million people every single day, packed with emojis and urgent buzzwords, but the page it links to doesn't actually exist, how many of those 1.6 million readers actually click the link to find that out?
That is the real mystery.
And how many simply read the headline, felt that rush of dopamine, assumed they learned something profound about the future of AI, and moved on with their day entirely unaware that the library they were standing in was completely empty.
Spoken Tech. For your ears.